outset, NASCAR has celebrated America's love affair with automobiles and the brave men and women who race them. For a sport that's evolved from moonshine runs to sand dune spinouts to high bank super speedways, there's always been an eye-popping visual attraction for the fans: the car. From the Hudson to the Fairlane, to the Monte Carlo, the T-Bird and the Regal, to the Taurus and the Monte Carlo again, to the 2013 Fusion, SS, and Camry. 6 generations of race cars. 6 generations of romancing the fans with fast machines driven by NASCAR stars to victory lane and to championships. Gen 6 has arrived with an old school appeal. The racetrack and showroom, arm in arm, once again. Gen 6 is a reflection of NASCAR's drive to innovate, racing into the future. It's about speed and performance, science and technology, and the return to manufacturer rivalries. It's about the auto manufacturers, teams, and NASCAR delivering an unprecedented combination of style, design, and on-track performance. It's about offering sports' most loyal fans the best racing in the world.
And welcome. Welcome to CCS, to those people in our audience, and welcome to those who are watching us on NASCAR.com and Autoweek.com on the live video stream. I'm Dutch Mandel. I'm the editorial director and associate publisher of Autoweek, and I wanted to take this time to welcome you, and also to thank the people at CCS for allowing us to bring this event to this wonderful facility. In many ways, we were talking earlier that the creation of the production cars and the creation of race cars starts with a real dream. And a lot of those dreams are nurtured right here at CCS. I think it's important for you to understand a little bit about this conference and how it began. It did, as many of these things do, it was around a luncheon. And we started asking questions about this Gen 6 car, what it was going to be like, how the fans were going to respond, how different was it from everything else. And that begat the idea of picking up the phone and calling the people at NASCAR to see whether or not we could put this event on. And I am delighted that we have such a great group of people here to share with you their insight. If you will allow me, I will introduce our guests. To my right is Mike Helton, the president of NASCAR. Robin Pemberton, the commander-in-chief of competition for NASCAR. Kim Brink, who is the Vice President of Brand, Consumer, and Series Marketing. David Wilson, who is the Senior Vice President at Toyota Racing Development. Jamie Allison, who would like to be known as the czar of motorsports for Ford globally, but he is just the head of Ford Motorsports globally. And Jim Campbell, the head of performance and racing for General Motors. I would like to open it up by turning to Mr. Helton and asking the question, how is NASCAR doing?
We're doing okay, thank you. But first of all, thanks Dutch and to Autoweek for hosting this kickoff, and to Sunoco for hosting the Road to Daytona that starts here today. We're pleased with the past couple of seasons of competition with NASCAR. The business of NASCAR continues to evolve, and the relationship that we established with our stakeholders, and today's a good example of one of those relationships that we've established over time and involved very nicely with the OEMs to create the Gen 6 car collectively and together in an effort to appeal to not just our stakeholders, but to appeal to the fans and put that as an agenda item that we all collectively worked on and came out with something that we believe is very exciting. But the past couple of seasons with the championship battle coming down 2 years ago between Tony and Carl, and this past year between Brad and Jimmy Johnson has offered up a lot of exciting moments on the racetrack for us. And the business of NASCAR continues to work on its future and make moves in the sport to contribute to the success of our future. And I think there's no better visible example of that than the 2013 NASCAR Sprint Cup car that we badge as Gen 6. And we're very excited about it, and it's obvious that just the appearance of it gets not just the avid fans excited again, but it also, we feel, relates our sport to the American automobile business. While the automobile industry is certainly worldwide and global in all aspects, our heritage has always relied on the relationship with the vehicles that participate in the sport. And we've got 3 iconic brands that have worked diligently with us to create the Ford, the Chevrolet, and the Toyota cars that you'll see on the Sprint Cup circuit beginning in February. Well, actually in a couple of weeks. It is February. It snuck up on me. Here in a couple of weeks in Daytona. So we're excited about that, and we're excited about the opportunities that we see coming in 2013. We feel really good about it. You know, as this conference unfolds, there'll be more and more detail about how we got to this moment, how we got to this car. But I have to thank the automobile manufacturers that are involved in NASCAR for their support, not just on this program, which we're all excited about, but in general. For the past several years, we've realized that working closely with the OEMs involved in our sport, we've had the opportunity to make great strides. In the engines of the cars that we race, the evolution of technology in our sport that we've leaned heavily on our OEM partners to help us with the fuel injection. The design of this car was as much the OEM's task as it was ours. The nationwide car a couple of seasons ago that we launched, the style of those cars, were all part of this package that NASCAR and the OEMs have been working on collectively. And it opens up the door for future opportunities, particularly in today's world with the advancement of technology and all the things that are going on in this city and others where these cars are manufactured for the public. We can work collectively, obviously now, with the OEMs to make our product more relevant to their product, and that works for both of us. You know, our drivers are our greatest asset when it comes to fan appeal. But we know for certain that 4 out of 5 of our fans also have an affinity to the brand of the car that's on the racetrack. And some of those relationships are much older than the relationships they've got with drivers that are racing out there today. So that's important to us, and sustaining that and making it work right is critical for our future. And so we're really excited about getting this season started, and the example behind us here is why that excitement's at an all-time high. The one thing, just in closing, Dutch, is you notice the design of these cars obviously are very much of showroom-like. NASCAR also made some concessions along the way to be sure that we could build the identity of the driver with that race car. So the name across the top of the windshield, as you've seen, is something that's already been out there, and the teams are, this is the way the cars will show up in Daytona and race with the drivers' names across the front of the windshield. One thing I will confirm this morning is the fact that in addition to the name of the driver across the windshield, we are adding immediately the badge of the manufacturer on either side of the name. So Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford will have the identification next to their driver's name on the windshield of their car as we launch the 2013 season. And that's just another step in working with the OEMs, realizing not just the importance of doing it for them from a business side, but also Kim Brink and others will tell us that helps the fan identify that collective support of that race car and that race car driver and that brand of car. And we're very excited about getting the 13 started, so thank you.
Before we go any further, you will notice, those who are here in the auditorium with us, you have question cards where you are able to write down any questions. Please do so. They will be brought over to me, and I will vet them to make sure that everything is under control here. But let's start now with some questions that I've already written down. How was the news of the change in race car direction received by the manufacturers and the teams? Robin, let me ask you that, and then I will let the manufacturer representatives think about that.
I think that you know, we were. I think the groundwork had been laid back in 2009. We were already on a path to upgrade and update our cars, and we were. At that time, we'd had some projects that we were working on with the OEMs, and you know, as those meetings take place, there's always, you get done with one project or you're coming to an end of a project and you just throw a couple ideas out there, and you know, and really it's this Generation 6 car. The first conversations that we had about going new actually started in 2009. So as we worked through the garage area on different layers of the sport, people knew that there were new projects underway and that we were headed at some point to a new type of car. And you know, and the people you confide in the industry, you know, you go off and you have these nice conversations, and you plant the seeds, and it doesn't take long before people are, what are we doing? When can we go? How can we help? How can we get this thing going? You know, everybody was geared up and ready for something new and a new challenge. So in the garage area and with the OEMs and ourselves, you know, we were, I think collectively, it was all positive, and everybody was fairly excited about the opportunity to create something new.
Jim?
Yep, I would just say that, you know, for us in the 09 and 2010 timeframe, we were talking with Brian and Mike and Robin about the things we wanted in the sport to increase relevance. We wanted to see the use of a biofuel blend. We wanted to see relevant technologies, but those that didn't drive the cost of racing too high. And then third, we wanted the car we raced on the track to be really connected to the car we saw in the showroom. If you think about this, we were all candidly aligned, and so we all worked together with NASCAR, and I think the other OEMs would probably agree with those kind of three priorities. And so 11, we got the ethanol blend. 12, we got the fuel injection. And here we are coming to 13 with cars we're going to race are going to be connected to the cars we sell in the showroom. So for us, it was a win all the way around. And there's a lot of perception that the OEMs are in a battle with NASCAR. I got to tell you, in this, we're totally aligned on those three priorities and worked together to make it better. And candidly, NASCAR pushed us further on the designs to get them to look more like the production cars, which was a great dynamic, and I think the result sitting behind us is proof that it works.
Jamie, would you care to follow up?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd like to echo what Jim said in that in the relationship between NASCAR and the manufacturer has never been any better. We are a car company. This is car racing. There's a lot of enthusiasts out there. And that's the whole spirit of motorsports, is to just kind of lift the excitement around the product that they have at home and the product that they see on the weekends. So the opportunity to bring back that brand identity into our cars is something that the fans have asked for, something that NASCAR led, and something that we as a manufacturer enabled. I think the small experiment that kind of really showed the scale of the excitement around this opportunity is what happened in Nationwide. And when we brought back the Mustang and brought the Mustang Qs in Nationwide, we saw a lot of exciting reaction from a set of audiences that didn't follow NASCAR. All the Mustang buff books all started to follow and cover the sport. So we knew that there was a yearning, a thirst, an appetite from the fans to kind of reconnect with the brand that they so love, whether it's Mustang or Fusion or the other brands. So it was an exciting moment, and it took a lot of hard work from the operation side to make sure that the cars that come out at the end of the day are unique. However, the competitiveness of racing that happens, that's been spectacular, is intact. So I think we're there.
And David, if you'd like to weigh in.
I don't know that these guys left me much room,
I was going to just say forget about it.
but I will say one of the things that really resonated with us is all the work that NASCAR did prior to this in talking to the fans and trying to understand what they wanted, where they wanted to see the sport go. And particularly what resonated for us is the relevancy aspect. And of course, fuel injection came on board, but the fans also wanted to identify not, well, okay, we know the M&M's is a Camry because it's M&M's, but they want to be able to see the Camry behind the livery. So to have that fully executed and going forward in 2013, very exciting.
Robin, this is coming to you. What are some of the top-line technological issues facing NASCAR in bringing competition parity to these vehicles?
We've only got an hour, right?
I'm gonna pull my chair.
It was very complicated because you had the change of mindset of so many people, right? We're a group where, as a governing body, we set parameters. You have to be this height, this width, this weight, all of these things that go into, keeping competition level. When we went into this new car, we were much of the same, where you had to make this much downforce, and the drag needed to be this, and all these numbers that go into to make a car competitive. What we learned early on is that we had to be flexible, and we couldn't pick a set of numbers based on history. We had to let these new numbers and the new car dictate to us what the new rules and would turn out to be. The manufacturers were very patient because we had to go off and develop scale model programs for each and every one of them, and then they would come back, and between, at that time, the 4 manufacturers, the numbers were so broad from downforce and drag and those things. We had to decide at that point that we wouldn't pick numbers. We would just continue to develop cars, and every time the group came back together, we would say, okay, that's too much and this is too little. Everybody go off again. Everybody sees everybody's numbers and see where we needed to be. And so they went off and developed another car and another version of that car. So the process, as many of the things we've done over the past 6 or 7 years, is we have to at some point start with a clean sheet of paper, even though it's in the middle or it's early on in this process. And that's why the manufacturers, they work so well with us, because as they realized that we were really serious about brand identity, that we actually pushed them, or actually asked them to say it's okay to go overboard. We'll find a way to make it work. And they worked really hard on it. There was cars that were completely done and they looked beautiful, and we scratched them off the list and started over again in many cases, because we needed that parity in there, and everybody went back to work. It was quite a long process, but as we sit today, we're very comfortable that everybody is in the same area and will be able to compete.
How long did that process take, and are you ready to adjust during the course of the season to make sure that the competition remains on par?
The first question I can answer real easy, and the second question I may defer to my boss. But we started off, the process was if people that are in design or build race cars or race for a living, it depends on what side of it you get, that you think it's a long process or a short process. The first conversations took place in 2009, but we really didn't start to identify things until possibly early 2011, working on different aspects of building the cars and things like that. So it was definitely a 2-year plus process. And, you know, when you're trying to race at the same time and you're trying to develop other cars, which is a nationwide car that come online in 2011 full time, you know, there's a lot of balls that you have in the air at the same time. But I would say that if this sets the stage of everything we can do for the next decade plus, it's a good platform. We've got a good process in play where the manufacturers actually can introduce a new car, and they're not reliant on all manufacturers being ready to introduce a new car, which really will be the first time that we've been able to do that in probably 8 or 9 years. And so that's the thing that will help us moving forward. Not everybody's on the same time frame. And so it's really important for us that we don't handcuff them with everybody else. Somebody can bring a new car for 14 or 15, or for 15 if they want, or 14. So that's one of the things that we kept in mind along the way.
So the new car for 15 is going to be the Toyota, David? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get more news out of this thing here, but
yeah. And as far as the mid-year rules, you know, some people will complain along the way, but I don't think it'll be any more than what we see today.
I guess maybe a follow-up to that is it's going to probably make your life as the overseer of competition more difficult.
Well, this whole process is a little more difficult because we are now challenged and have challenged ourselves. We owe it to these manufacturers to regulate the identity of these cars. We have a whole new process, or added to the process that was already quite in depth, to make sure that the OEM's product is on the racetrack what they've submitted to us. And so it's twofold now. It's for competition, but it's also our agreement with them that if they're going to go down this path, spend all this time and energy, we have to go down the same path with them to make sure that their product continues to represent what they're selling.
Dutch, if I can just add to that, I mean, just to highlight the importance of what Robin covered, is that if you look at the history of the sport, I mean, it started with stock car racing, and the shape of the stock car could and did influence the outcome because that was what it was stock car. And you moved away, for obvious and important reasons, into cars that are more safe and try to bring more competitiveness in the sport. So there's a lot of goodness that came out of the progression of the sport to this level. And I think what we're all saying, and Robin is echoing in the fact that we're at a point now where it's, you know, the best of all the past, right? The best of stock car cues, the best of competitiveness on the sport, and indeed is going to put a lot of emphasis on the series, and as well as us. These cars are designed to targets, and we can put our brand identity to these targets, because we all want competitive racing. Our fans want to see competitive races. And how do you accomplish that when you have grill bars on one car and not on others? So it is going to be an ongoing process, and testament and a lot of our faith and support for the leadership of NASCAR to enable that, because it's certainly a series that could take any form, and we're very pleased that we have that balance, and we're going to work together to make sure that it's competitive, and yet we have our brand cues.
Yeah, the Gen 6 is a new car, but it's 65 years of experience. It's not called Gen 6 just because we thought that was a trick name. It's the 6th generation of a NASCAR Sprint Cup car. And I think I saw some of our posters out there that tell the history from Gen 1, Gen 2, all the way through. And to Jamie's point, you can see this is a convergence of modern technology, knowledge, experience, ability with our heritage. And that's one of the things that makes this so exciting for us, is that it's a very modern version of what NASCAR's 65 years have taught us.
Right on.
I've not been ignoring you, Kim.
That's okay. You needed a girl up here.
Yeah, well, that's the rose between all of these thorns. What does having a Gen 6 car mean for the NASCAR marketing?
Yeah.
That's for you, and then it will be for the manufacturers.
That's great. In my estimation, I think that the new car is a game changer for us in marketing. Mike talks a lot about this is a watershed moment in the history of our sport, and I think that's not an understatement or an overstatement. It's absolutely accurate, because what this allows us to do, and I've had the benefit of working in the auto industry for 20 years, it is clear that the reason that the OEMs invest in our sport is because it drives the business. And now we have an opportunity with the connectivity between the cars on the track and the brand identity with the cars in the showroom to help drive their business more concretely, even than we have in the past. So I think that's probably, the biggest marketing impact is the business impact. You heard a lot of conversations this morning about, development on the car in collaboration with our OEM partners. I would say that we're forging an entire new relationship on the marketing side. In fact, these cars give us the opportunity as the league to help promote the SS, the Fusion, and the Camry, so much so that we're launching a new campaign that will break this Friday, that we have dedicated spots for the new SS, the new Fusion, and the new Camry, and it really drives home that connectivity between the car on the track is similar to the car in the showroom. And finally, I think our fans are the most loyal fans in the world, and they know that this sport can't run without the support of our OEMs. And we hope that connectivity will drive their business in the end.
David.
The relevancy is fantastic, and ultimately, a couple of our main objectives are to drive showroom traffic, to increase purchase consideration, being able to connect what we race to our 2013 Camry that we sell in the dealerships is monumental. We're so excited about it. We've already used the new 2013 Toyota Camry in one of our brand spots that we ran right after the Super Bowl this past Sunday. So, very exciting.
Jim?
Yeah, I would say that the relevancy thing, we're involved in a lot of race series. Obviously NASCAR, long history with NASCAR. We're also involved in the Grand Am series, and we moved in the prototype to a more relevant Corvette Daytona prototype. And when we did that, the Corvette community ignited support behind that. We run the Camaro and the GT and the GS classes in American Le Mans series. We run the Corvette C6R. Before that was the C5R. And when you get that relevancy right of what you're racing on the track to what you sell in the showroom, great things happen. And customers and your enthusiasts and your supporters rally behind the programs. And we do race for a number of reasons across all these programs, including NASCAR. One is tech transfer. What we learn on the track, we translate to better cars and powertrains. A great place to develop young engineers as well. And then when you win races, it lifts your brand image very quickly. All the right attributes move north, which we like. And then finally, we love the motorsports environment because the fans give us a lot of time before the race in the midway. And so we get to interact with our most loyal Chevrolet customers, and then also a few of the ones that don't own Chevrolets, try to get them to come our way over time to sell them a car, truck, or part. That's why we do it. So we're very excited to bring the Chevrolet SS to the track. And on February 16th, so this is at 1 o'clock after the practice ends on the track, we are going to unveil the production version of the Chevrolet SS at the track in the fan zone with the fans. It's the first time that we've done this in decades where we've introduced a whole new model at a racetrack. We've done special editions at racetracks. It's been many decades since we've done this with a whole new model. So we're very excited about it. Working on some live streaming options, so if fans can't get there, there's a way they can kind of tune in. But very excited about that. We're going to run a rear-wheel drive V8, fuel-injected V8, on the track, and we'll sell the same in the showroom. So we like that relevancy in a big way.
And Jamie?
I'll just add to what we just covered. The data is unequivocal. Car buyers, roughly 40% of those who intend to buy a car, say they're a motorsports fan, and then we ask, what form of motorsports do you follow? We do that every quarter. NASCAR stands out as a giant among other also-rans, and it's about 84% that follow NASCAR. So, as Kim said, this does drive our business. It is unequivocal. Ford race fans consider, shop, and buy more Fords than non-fans. So, which speaks to the point by Jim and David around relevancy, is that relevancy is that X factor is that the fans were there. They love watching it because, you know, they know it's about cars. But then to add the relevancy of our cars looking like the cars that they own, it adds that emotional connection that we all see and happens in forms of sports. So relevancy is key, and these cars bring back that X factor and bring back the magic that was once there, and I think we have the magic.
So
I think what we're going to see, you know, with this, you've got this connection now back to the car manufacturers, and Mike talked about it. Rivalries are so important in any sport, but I think particularly here. So you're going to see us kind of, you know, have much more intensity to yeah, we all get along and we're collaborative, but we're here to race and compete. And in our marketing, we're going to kind of rekindle those rivalries, the Chevy Nation, the Ford Nation, the Toyota Nation.
So you're going to egg these people on?
You better.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And Kim, do you think that it's going to, with these cars that look like the cars that are being sold in the showroom, that will, in fact, maybe engage more fans?
Oh, absolutely. I think Mike started to allude to this earlier, and Jamie as well, that it'll allow younger people and people who are non-fans, I think, to more naturally associate what they see in their day-to-day life in showrooms, in the road, to what's actually racing. So, yeah, I think it's going to be you know, something that's going to help us grow the fan base. But at the same time, as Mike said, you know, it's keeping the core and the avid fan, which is important to us.
I want to go back to something that you said, Jim, a little earlier, and I was thinking about this earlier. You have a clean sheet of paper with the SS, and it's been a long time since I can remember that a race car has preceded the introduction of the production car. In fact, in some sanctioning bodies, they mandate that you have at least 50 copies before the race car exists. I guess you could say the SS is not homologated yet, but do you feel that the production car will benefit from the race car development?
Yep.
And if
I would
how
say,
specific?
you know, we looked at all the options we had in the Chevrolet portfolio, from Malibu to Impala to a lot of choices. We really landed on the Chevrolet SS, which is really the same architecture in which we build our Chevrolet Camaro, which has been very successful in the market in this growing regular sports segment. And then also the Holden Commodore. It's the same architecture, the same group of engineers works on them. And we really decided this was our moment to really connect in a very authentic way fuel-injected rear-wheel drive V8 architecture to what we're racing on the track to the showroom. And we've been there before, but it's been a lot of years. And we've you know, raced rear-wheel drive Impalas in Monte Carlos and sold front-wheel drives in the showroom. So we know how to do that. We really like this connection of rear-wheel drive, fuel-injected V8 on the track in the showroom. So as I said, on February 16th, we're going to unveil the production car with the fans at Daytona. It's going to be a special moment, and when the fans see that production car and compare it to this race car sitting behind me, this is the 88, Dale's car, Dale Jr.'s, they're going to really see that connection piece. It's a big connection.
Jamie and David, you've had time to hone the Fusion and the Camry race car and the production car. How has this benefited each of you?
There's many aspects to motorsports in a company like Ford. Clearly, we've been talking about the external aspect and the series interface aspect. There's the internal aspect. I mean, for many years, motorsports was kind of an igniting factor to get a lot of excitement among the employees involved in motorsports program. So here we have a car who was literally sculpted and was born in the studio where other cars are born. You walk into the studio and you get to see the formation of the NASCAR Fusion and the designers getting excited. And in management reviews, you know, Jim Parley talks about it, and he walks into a management review for the Fusion, and there was all kinds of conversation that happened that normally wouldn't have happened. I mean, we normally don't sculpt, you know, race cars in studios, but in this one we did. Back in the days we did, because of the product relevancy. So igniting employee morale, obviously our team at Ford Racing, all the engineers working on a special project such as this to try to bring more product relevancy, with the challenge of making sure that we have competitive, exciting racing, yet at the same time bring unique brand identification, unique form factor that's in the car. That's a tall challenge for our operations team led by Andy Slankard and Pat DeMarco, who are here today. So the challenge, the excitement, and all the Fusion brand team, who is excited about launching the new Fusion, and very similar to what Jim talked about, although, you know, he's going to reveal the car ahead of the the formal race car. We made a lot of connections between the Fusion and the introduction of the new Fusion last year. So all of us feel that this is a fodder for engaging externally and as well exciting internally.
So Jamie just stole some of my thunder.
He's good that way.
TRD is principally an engineering company. And so when it came time to design our new 2013 Camry, we really didn't have the internal resources to do it. And then we looked around, and literally a few miles from our headquarters in Costa Mesa, California, resides Calty Design, which is Toyota's in-house design center. So we gave our friends over there a call and asked if they wanted to work with us on redesigning this race car, and they were just delighted. It became an internal morale builder. It became a great story for us to promote within our company how two divisions work together to bring a race car to the track. So again, as Jamie pointed out, just the in-house excitement that has been generated has been tremendous. Case in point, tomorrow we're actually loading a charter up in Concord, North Carolina, putting 30 of our drivers, team owners, principals on a plane flying to Toyota Motor Manufacturing, Kentucky, where the Camry is built, and we're lining off a couple of Camrys with our drivers and getting the thousands of plant team members together to get them excited about going racing with the new 2013 Camry.
That's great. That's wonderful. Robin, we've got some questions from the audience. Can you detail the changes on the 2013 car versus the 2012? What are the significant changes?
Other than the body and everything that you can see here, but we took the opportunity and we've had some safety enhancements for cars getting upside down, added to the roll cage, things like that. We've managed to work with the teams, and we're able to reduce the weight on the car about 150 pounds, which should long-term should help us do a better job with tire development, things like that. We have increased our rear camber numbers, where it's an easy way to get car grip and add mechanical grip to the car, and so we've increased those numbers by about 70% from where we were, and teams will work through that. There'll be limits and limitations based on components and how long that they live moving forward. Things will get better, but those are three big things that I think that we've been able to do across the board to help the cars be more competitive, with a big focus on our intermediate racing and racetracks and things like that.
There are obviously some very astute people in the room, and they asked the question, why is the rear wing on the Toyota larger than the Ford and the Chevy? Why is the rear wing larger on the Toyota than it is on the Ford and Chevy? Maybe they're not as astute as we think they are.
No,
it's not? They're all the same size?
No, they're all the same.
Okay, good.
I hear that.
You like that competition parody, unless they brought something, right?
Let me look.
Downforce car.
You have downforce cars.
That was obviously a question from
you have
Jamie
and
Jim.
Our super speedway package is low drag, and so the spoilers are smaller. When we get to the high-speed, unrestricted racetrack, our super speedways like Michigan and those places, it's a much larger rear spoiler. They have quite a bit.
Gone through tech yet.
And we haven't.
It hasn't been through tech.
I'm not sure.
This is
I don't know about Brad's car here, if he's going to make it or not. But
this is for Kim or Mike. NASCAR has been touting their new TV deal with Fox. How many races will be moved, quote, behind the paywall or cable TV or on cable TV? Please be specific and address the impact on fans.
The renewal with Fox goes in effect 2015, and we'll wait until we have the complete season packaged up with other broadcast partners before the determination will be made on who's airing what and those types of things. But the intent is for there to actually be more network races by 2015 than we have today. But that's something we can't figure out until we get the entire season all packaged up.
From a fan's perspective, the start and park cars seem to be increasing. They're larger in numbers. When there is a big one, so few cars seem left to race. What are you doing to address this?
Well, I'm not too sure that I wouldn't differ with the volume of the cars that they mentioned. I don't call them that. But I will say that you know, NASCAR's formula for success for so long has been to be open to anyone that comes with a qualified package and can meet all the requirements from event to event. A lot of drivers and car owners struggle early on, and they become significant participants in the sport over time. I point to Richard Childress, who today is one of the most iconic car owners our sport has ever had, who struggled in his early days. He literally, back in those days, would have been called a starting parker. But we see the significance he's contributed to our sport so many years later. Tommy Baldwin's another more recent example of a competitor who struggled early on, but that opportunity that he had, and while he may had to use it uniquely, gave him the ability to sustain a more routine program. And the rules and regulations around that, if we tweaked them, we could eliminate the opportunity for the next Richard Childress or the next Tommy Baldwin. And while we understand the fact that it's irritating to us for someone maybe to take advantage of the rules for the moment, that leaving the rules alone is more advantageous for the opportunity than reacting to the rule and shutting that opportunity out for others to participate in the sport. And I think we'll see more participation more often in 2013. What we did do in 2013 is we moved some of the prize money off the back spots on up into higher in the purse, so that if someone's intent is solely to run a lap or two and park it and go home, the revenue stream shrinks on that package.
It always starts with the money, doesn't it? And that's good. That's a great way to address it.
No, it starts with a passion. It just takes money to support it.
Kim, do you see the change to Gen 6 infusing more NASCAR creative into your marketing efforts at the brand level?
Yeah, absolutely. As I referenced earlier, you know, we've been working with the OEMs to launch an entire new campaign that highlights the Gen 6 car. What I hope is that it'll also go the other way, whereby, you know, when Jamie is launching the Fusion or new Camry creative or new SS creative, that they will be able to use motorsports back into their mainstream launch creative. You know, we see Nationwide do that with, you know, Danica and Dale, and we know from our Nationwide relationship that sponsor gets tremendous results by using Nationwide outside of just the motorsports, you know, media channel. So yes, I think it'll go both ways, and I think it's going to benefit, you know, both of us.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most successful campaigns we ran last year when we used Carl Edwards launching the Taurus show, showcasing the fun to drive attributes of it. It was nothing NASCAR specific, but it was born out of the fact that we have a NASCAR star, NASCAR driver who could help us communicate those attributes of the Taurus. Very successful both in broadcast as well as when it was repurposed for social media. So our intent is with cars like these, certainly you're going to see more connection with our traditional form of marketing.
Jamie, you have to agree that it didn't hurt that the car was sideways most of the time going through that commercial, which was okay. David and Jim, I think you guys are both really closely tied with selling performance parts as a result of this racing. How do you believe the Gen 6 cars will affect that?
Well, I would say that we use racing as a platform to connect, to create some parts that are for off-road only, and then other parts that can go on-road. So there's a whole spectrum there. So I think it's going to help us raise the awareness of the new car, the new Chevrolet SS, and then creating some pieces and parts that people can put on their Chevrolet SS to enhance their performance another level. Speaking of that, I mentioned Camaro. We'll be running the Camaro in the Nationwide Series. We also run Camaro in the Grand Am, the GT and GS. We recently took pieces and parts off our Camaro ZL1, our highest performing Camaro, the Brembo brake kit, our 1LE mechanical suspension pieces and parts, heavy-duty driveline. We validated those to fit, and we validated that they work and can handle basically the way consumers are going to use it to enhance a Camaro V6 or V8 that is not an ZL1. In other words, you can take the up-level pieces and parts and pull them down. And what we've learned on developing those pieces and parts comes from racing. How do you keep those pieces and parts cooled properly so they work properly? And racing inspires us in a big way to help us build better pieces and parts for customers to really customize their own vehicles. So we see a bright future for performance parts and linking it to racing.
David, you too?
Yep, I think the new 2013 Camry, the Gen 6 car, is going to give us a broader platform to build the TRD brand equity off of it. One of the things that this year I think we will be working on more is to use our TRD name and brand and logo in connection with our racing program in NASCAR.
Robin or Mike, some drivers have said that these cars are, quote, easier to drive. How does this impact competition?
Well, they have more downforce than what they've had in the past. Easier to drive, I will see when they're having to compete against the guy next to them. It's all relative. So right now they're talking about individual tests running by yourself. So we'll see what happens when they're door to door, and maybe they'll want them a little bit easier to drive when they're 3 wide and 200 miles an hour. So,
Mike, this doesn't have anything to do with the Gen 6, and I apologize for that. But why no road courses in the Chase?
Just the way the schedule laid out when we created the Chase, and we were clear at the outset, and time can change this, but we weren't going to adjust the schedule to fit the Chase. The Chase just was an element we added at the last 10 races of the year, and when we did that, there wasn't any road courses in that part of our season. I'm not sitting here and saying that will never change, but there's nothing anytime soon that shows that those last 10 races will mix up too much. It's funny. I remember when Rob and I first got into sport 100 years ago, our guys weren't very good road racers. Matter of fact, it wasn't uncommon for us to go to Riverside or Watkins Glen and then Sonoma, and road racing, professional road racers would get in the cars and outdo our guys more often than not. Today, our guys are pretty daggone good road racers, and some of our most exciting events is, even at the nationwide level at Road America and Montreal, but the Cup at Watkins Glen and Sonoma, they're pretty impressive on road courses today. So I think they would be okay if there was a road race in the last 10 races somewhere, but that would be by osmosis, not by design.
Okay. Kim, how do you evolve the NASCAR brand so it remains relevant to youth of today and for future fun?
You're going to see an entire new brand direction. So I think in our core marketing, we needed to identify elements that not only got the core fans excited, but also lapsed fans and casual fans, but also spoke to an entire new generation, Gen Y, youth, and multicultural Hispanics in particular. And so what you're going to see is, even in our mainstream marketing, those core messages that, fortunately, we have found, if you will, those messages that can appeal to all of that fan base. So it is OEM rivalries. It is driver rivalries. We haven't talked about that too much today, but one of the key bullets that we have, and one of the most important assets that we have are our drivers. And continuing to elevate the power of the drivers and elevate their brand, I think, is a really critical piece to speak to, especially young kids coming into the sport. So we're looking at that in our mainstream marketing, but we also are working on dedicated outreach programs. For example, the Hispanic market with the Mexico Series launching in Phoenix this year on March 1st. We have a year-long Hispanic outreach that we're partnering primarily with Toyota on. And again, it's dedicated TV, radio, print, fan engagement, viewing parties. So programs like that, and we're doing the same thing in the college market space as well as the youth space. So mainstream marketing is important, that you have a message that appeals to a diverse audience, but at the same time, investing in programs that are going to reach new folks in their media consumption channels and where they live. Because they might not be at our treks right now, and they might not be watching our races right now.
This is for one or three of the OEs. How are you currently measuring your spending on the track versus sales?
I touched already, Dutch, on purchase consideration, and for us, that's a key metric. And of course, part of our corporate culture is we want to measure everything. When we first came into the sport, and I just realized that this coming year will be Toyota's 10th year racing in NASCAR's national level. We started in the trucks in 2004. But one of the first things that we started doing, because when we came into the sport, it was very polarizing. If you remember, not everybody was welcoming us with open arms, and so we wanted to measure where that changed and the acceptance of the NASCAR fans to Toyota, not just as a brand, but a participant. And so we started talking to the fans, and now usually twice a year, we conduct rigorous polling, talking to the NASCAR fans, and we've been able to measure, the fact that for most cases, the fans have come to accept us. Fans are going to root for Chevy, Ford, or Toyota, but just because they may be rooting for a different brand, what we've come to understand and appreciate is that they respect our participation. They ultimately see that we've helped their sport become a better sport. But as I said at the outset, one of the things that we really saw was a pickup in purchase consideration. Now, anecdotally, when I go to the racetrack, I'll have fans, they'll see me with my TRD or Toyota shirt on, and they'll grab me and say, listen, I would never have even thought about Toyota, but because you guys are here and you're just one of us, I've walked into a Toyota dealership for the first time. And so we've seen that anecdotally, but we've also seen that in the measurements and the surveys. So that's just tremendous for us.
I'll give you another example is that the scale of NASCAR is so large. It's no wonder that you see Fortune 500 companies, consumer goods companies are involved. So today we're talking about OEMs and the series and the audiences and the relevancy. But there's another dimension of NASCAR that makes it so appealing and so ripe for a brand awareness campaign. So Ford Motor Company, we introduced EcoBoost. And EcoBoost is obviously our technology for the blend of fuel economy as well as performance. And that was a brand that we wanted to amplify and reach out to a larger audience. So we, as do other consumer goods company like 5 Hour Energy or Miller Lite, we decided to use NASCAR as a motorsports outreach to raise brand awareness of EcoBoost. So, there is nothing that rivals the scale of NASCAR, maybe short of the NFL, in terms of reach for brand awareness. And that's why it appeals to so many other consumer goods companies. And it works for us, so not just at the level of brand relevancy to the cars that we race and the technology that is used and the employee morale, it also is an effective platform for us when we're bringing new technologies or new brands that we want to introduce to the landscape. So it worked at EcoBoost, and we saw a significant lift in awareness on the recognition of EcoBoost when we showcased it all past year in Nationwide and Cup with our drivers and on the car.
I would say, Chevy has a long tradition. NASCAR in 1955, Fonnie Flock was the first winner with the Chevy small block V8. And here we are many decades later getting ready to introduce our Chevrolet SS. We have a long tradition of activating in NASCAR. It's a great, as I said earlier, it's a great place to interact with your current customers and prospective customers. And so, you know, over the course of an interaction with customers that come to our display, you know, our goal is to earn their trust to get a, you know, consumer lead from them. And then over time, you know, we want to sell them a car, truck, or part. And so we have a very good track record of doing that. Competing in any form of motorsports, especially in NASCAR, we do see that lift in the image. If you can endure a Daytona 500 race, win the big races or championships, it says a lot about your brand and the integrity of the vehicle and the powertrain. So we love the platform, and Jamie said it. I mean, NASCAR has scale and reach that is unmatched in motorsports, and I think getting the relevancy up. I talked about the biofuel ethanol blend, relevant technologies, and getting that car that we're racing on the track connected to what we sell in the showroom is going to amplify that even further.
A couple more questions, and then we will conclude this event. Robin, this comes from Ben Wedge via Twitter. Does NASCAR have plans to make the cars more stock and with modern technology? Remember, this is 140 characters. Digital fuel injection, turbo independent rear suspension.
We'll continue. We will continue to broaden all of that as we move forward. But one of the things you have to keep in mind is there's a long lead time, and you know, we know that the engine technology that we have serves us well. The fuel injection was a great step for us, but we also know that we, you know, in the near future will be trying to move forward, and it's a long lead time. I mean, you're talking, you know, years and years to put a proper or to open up and to get to the next level of technology. I think the engine thing will be something that we will attempt to look at next.
Robin or Mike? Maybe Mike. What automaker or automakers would you like to see come into NASCAR?
Wow.
Yes. Maybe. Yes, all of them.
Well, you know, we've had a lot of brands come through NASCAR in a 65-year history, and as we move to be more relevant with our current partners, we all anticipate maybe the opportunity for other manufacturers to look at the sport and say, you know, I need to be there to compete against Chevrolet, Ford, and Toyota, and that's our aspiration, is to have a form of motorsports that not only our current manufacturers are proud of and help us build and grow, but it also may entice other manufacturers to see the value of being engaged in the sport. I'm a car guy, and these three guys can tell you I'm a car guy. And so the more the merrier, but it starts with a good solid relationship with Chevrolet, Ford, and Toyota that's got us here right now, and is really giving us a great opportunity to launch our 2013 season.
I heard last night that you're averaging 100,000 people at races. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this question comes in, Kim or Mike. What is the plan to increase track attendance?
Well, I'm gonna let Kim close the answer, but I will tell you, look, you know, it's obvious, I hope, that the representation of the vehicles that are sitting behind us, the conversations we've had for a little over an hour now about the being relevant and working on our products, NASCAR race cars, but OEM cars that sit in the showroom, to build enthusiasm and to build alliance with our customers, both groups of customers that we share a big pool of. That's all to grow the sport. I think Will Rogers said even if you're on the right track, you could get run over. So and we've had a couple of lean years on the NASCAR side, and motorsports in general has some struggles. But NASCAR's view of it is we want to be aggressive to build the future of NASCAR's style of motorsports. And these are things that we're doing. The effort and the exercise of creating the cars that we now very proudly have as an exhibit is an effort to grow the sport. It's an effort for the OEMs to grow their business too. And we want to be an asset to them in their business model, but we need them in our business model. But both of us have the energy and the intent to grow our businesses. So whether it's viewerships on television or people sitting in seats at the racetrack, these type of things that we're doing, making our sport more relevant to the consumer, is in an effort to grow those numbers. So Kim, you can.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about, like we said, we only have an hour. There's a plethora of things that we have in the works to grow the fan base. Outreach, as we talked about, to younger folks. For the first ever live broadcast of the Daytona 500 in Spanish on Fox Deportes. You know, a dedicated effort to build our driver star power. A lot of work going on at the tracks to improve the connectivity and improve the fan experience. But at the end of the day, I don't think we ever lose sight in the marketing group that what we sell is great racing. And what I tell Robin, he can make my job easier and all our jobs easier by having great competition. And I think that at the end of the day is what these cars are about, and that's what we sell. Great racing, great competition, on the edge of the seat, you know, a sport that's unpredictable, a sport that is dramatic, and then it's our job in marketing to bring that to life and show the virtues of this great sport to a whole new generation for future growth.
Well, as you prepare for this road to Daytona, Kim, and as we have the representatives from 3 manufacturers here, we could set up a steel cage right now and maybe do away with, okay, Jamie, sit down, sit down. Final thoughts from our panelists. Jim.
Yeah, I would just say that the way we developed this race car is not unlike how we have developed production cars. Pat Suey sitting in the audience, Alba Colon, John Cafaro, who is our Chevrolet passenger car designer, worked hand in hand with a whole engineering team and our key partners teams from Hendrick, Richard Childress Racing, Earnhardt Ganassi, and Stuart Haas Racing to develop this car. And we use the same techniques. We concept the vehicle. We use computational fluid dynamics, CFD, to understand aerodynamics. We build scale models that we take to rolling road surfaces to get a sense of how does that CFD analysis really translate to a scale model. Then we repeat that cycle a couple times. Then we build a full scale model. We put that in a wind tunnel. And we understand how does that car operate in the wind tunnel. And then ultimately we take that car to the track. You saw us with the camouflage, the zebra striped car that was on the track. And we put so many of our NASCAR drivers behind the wheel. And Robin and his team gave us plenty of testing opportunities to make this car right for racing. And along the way, make it right for that connection of what we race in the track to what we sell in the showroom. So we're proud to be in NASCAR. Can't wait for February 16th to introduce the production car. We'll race that night at the Sprint Unlimited. And then the next weekend's the 500.
I'd like to start out by saying amen to what Kim just said. I mean, the old adage is so true. Win on Sunday, sell on Monday. This is car racing. This is a sport where it's about winning. And those who are prepared to go out and win consistently and win championships are those who reap the benefits of the attention, the appeal of the fans. So we have fans who are emotionally connected to what happens on the track, what happens when they're watching on TV, and what happens when they're watching in person. And all of us are sports fans, and you know what happens when you win, and you know what happens when your team doesn't win. So preparation, excitement, and having product relevancy, and connecting with Ford fans, and let's go get them, guys. Thanks.
So I want to just touch on the rivalry point again. You know, not that we have to go to the cage match, but I think, you know, having this venue, the kickoff of the Road to Daytona here in Detroit and Michigan is so appropriate. For me, one of the things that I'll never forget, the first time I went to a NASCAR race in Michigan at MIS, the PA announcer, I think, still does this, and it's one of the few tracks that they do it, is before the race starts, they start talking to the fans, and they get the fans all excited, and they'll you know, who wants, Ford to win? Who wants Chevy to win? And Toyota. And that's, I think, this new car, the Gen 6 cars, we really are excited about that aspect. We want to be able to compete with these guys week in and week out, and that to be another theme, another thing that the fans will follow.
I think the fans are what make this sport so great. They're one of the largest, most loyal fan bases in all sports. So as the head of marketing, our focus is to engage and excite that core avid fan that's so important to us, but then to reach out and build lifetime relationships for future fans, ultimately to drive the business of our partners.
Well, as we send the new car off, us in the competition department, we'll continue to evaluate competition. We'll continue to work on things, and if there's things along the way that we can do to enhance our competition, we will. Because of the relationships that we have with the OEMs, we feel like we will be able to implement things along the way that will just continue to improve our competition on track. And that's our goal, to not just shove it out the door and go race it, but our work is not done.
It feels good to feel good about this. I think it's very significant that we're having this conversation in this building, in this city, to launch this road to Daytona, but to launch NASCAR's 2013 season, because I don't think there's any more iconic city than Detroit when it comes to the automobile and the connection to NASCAR. So this building itself that has so much history to it from the early years, and to come here and to have this conversation about launching our 2013 season. And so thank you, Autoweek, for giving us this opportunity. It means a lot because we are excited about it. We're very eager to get going because of all the excitement that this car and this effort and the building of these relationships has generated for us. And it's just been exciting to see the swell of energy as we've talked about the Gen 6 over the last 12 months, actually, but as we unveiled one brand after the other, and then the car became a reality. It tested, it practiced, and now it's all painted up and dolled up and ready to go. It feels good to feel good again. And I ran into Herb Fischler earlier today, and Herb sat in the GM camp for many years, pushing a lot of the things that we learned that goes into cars today, and he was very passionate about that brand being well represented on the Speedway, and helped build a lot of these relationships. So Herb, it's nice to see you again, but it just feels good to feel good.
Well, Mike, Robin, Kim, David, Jamie, and Jim, thank you for joining us, and thank you here in the audience for joining us with the Autoweek Racing Conference, The Road to Daytona.
Thanks, sir.